and we have a diverse amount of different decks, including top of the meta decks and some kind of unseen ones like we're actually going to see on stream for the first game today.
Yeah.
So we're going to hop right on stream because I do believe the players are just shuffling up for game number 1. We have Garrett on the left, who normally hosts the entire Pioneer event for the store, but has a day off and is going to be playing Azorius Soldiers. It's a spicy brew of his own, which you can actually rent from the store if you come down and you don't have a deck to play. Just give it out so you can have a loaner deck for the event. And then Mario on the right here, smiles and all, going to be playing Orzhov Greasefang. Just a different twist on the Greasefang list we saw just last Pioneer week, which was Esper.
Yeah. I've actually been talking a lot with Pioneer, Mario, about his Pioneer list during Standard when I play him, and he's been cooking quite a bit, so we'll see what he can do.
All right, well, if you got that inside info, then, all right, so what makes Orzhov Greasefang different than Abzan or Esper? Like, you're cutting one color, but for what?
Well, I believe it's mostly consistency, and then maybe his mid-range plan's a little bit better.
Are we going to be seeing some sort of extra planeswalkers or just bigger creatures from the list?
I don't know. I don't have all the inside info, so we'll have to see.
I'm really excited to see if there's some Kayas or Wandering Emperors playing the mid-range plan. I do see that as the players are resolving their mulligans, Mario does have Skyclave Apparition, which isn't something you see in normal Greasefang lists, but
looks nice removal to get through some, hate pieces and or not die.
Yeah, pretty much. So we are going to see, it looks like Mario is on the play, winds up playing a Concealed Courtyard, and then Garrett on this Azorius Soldiers list, just going to play a Hazada Marshal, so that is going to be one where if you attack with at least a certain number of creatures, you're going to wind up getting an extra 1/1 token into play, so already starting to commit to the board, and we're going to see probably something very similar from a Mono White human strategy, but with some blue threats in there to kind of buff them up with some lords from like the standard sets more recently, and probably a little bit of counter magic.
Yeah. I am aware that in Standard, blue-white soldiers was a pretty good deck, wasn't it?
It was definitely a painful deck in Standard, and more importantly, the first time I ever came to this store, I played against Garrett playing this deck specifically, and he prevented me from going 4-0. So, I'm not saying that I want him to lose out of spite, but I really like this Orzhov Greasefang list from Mario. It looks like Mario does have a little bit of different stuff here in his Greasefang list. We're going to see a Smuggler's Copter coming out. Now, I know this is something that a lot of different decks were kind of toying around with. We saw it from Rakdos midrange for the most part, but we also did see a couple of Greasefang lists playing it, but not the same kind of success it saw.
Here's the Rafine's Informant, a very classic Greasefang card.
Oh, but it's not going to be discarding a Parhelion, so...
Looks like Mario might not have a Parhelion in his hand, so he's trying to just get there.
I mean, you're pretty fast.
I believe he's trying to consider blocking with the
End of your turn.
Copter. Oh, I guess doesn't. What's that card?
It's a Raise the Alarm.
Oh, raise the alarm.
Yeah, that makes soldiers, so...
That's true.
Garrett, end step, going to be making Raise the Alarm. It looks like you were saying that Mario was debating if he wants to attack with that Smuggler's Copter or if he wants it to block. Looks like that without needing to put too much pressure on, knowing that he kind of has the bigger, beefier creatures in this matchup, going to just be content to leave that Smuggler's Copter on blocking duty. Of course, Smuggler's Copter, when it attacks or blocks, you get to activate its ability, so it can play defense.
Yeah.
Garrett, in the meantime, though, is going to get an extra blue mana. Winds up throwing down another soldier. Oh, this is the Lord. It's 2 mana. I can't quite remember the name of it, but we'll find it in a sec. But this is what that soldier deck can do. It can go wide.
Yeah, it's from DMU, I believe. I don't know what it's called. I only know the cleric one. My Garrett with a lot of 2/2s now on the board, I believe, and plays the guy that looks the one drop that looks at the top 4. You can pay 4 to activate it.
Yeah, so Garrett just kind of really committing to the board here.
But choosing not to swing. Interesting.
No, there is that smuggler's copter there, and it looks like there was a pass the turn over to Mario, so it is just going to be Deep Cavern Bat. I'm assuming that's something that you don't normally get to see in Greasefang lists.
That's actually something you don't see that much in Pioneer, I think.
No, this is more of a standard all-star, right?
Very standard all-star color. Oh, Valiant Veteran. That's...
Yeah, try saying that one 5 times fast.
Yeah, whoa. Okay. It can even buff from the grave? That's great.
Yeah, this is the one, you tap 5, exile it from your graveyard, you get to put a +1/+1 counter on everything. So it's still, you know, lords from the graveyard. But we are going to see Mario now taking the offensive. Cruz's bat actually puts it in the copter, which is kind of nice for us. And that's going to get a trigger to draw discard. We see Bitter Triumph was the draw for the turn for Mario. See if he winds up discarding a vehicle. Nope, just another Rafine's Informant. So stuck on 3 lands and stuck on no Greasefang, it looks like.
Also, no Greasefang payoff, I believe. It's like he's just trying to play a little mid-range, but Garrett's going really wide right now, and I think he might just swing in for a lot of damage this turn.
Yeah, I believe if you wind up triggering that Marshal, we're going to wind up having, this is 3 damage from the recruitment officer, there's additional 2 from the Lord, and then it's going to be 2 damage from each of those tokens, and there'll be another token being created, and oh! Fairgrounds Warden? That is not Brutal Cathar. However, it is a Dwarf Soldier.
Is Cathar not a soldier?
It might be, but I know it's definitely a human. But Fairgrounds Warden is a little bit of a throwback from Kaladesh, as you see on your screen here. Enters the battlefield, exiles a creature until it leaves the battlefield. It's not going to have the same ward cost. It's not going to be able to flip over and kind of do things over and over again, but does have a bigger butt so that it doesn't die as easily to shocks and stuff, which may just be an adaptation from Garrett's side for some of these Gruul lists, but we are going to see a lot of damage wind up coming on over to Mario. Actually, looks like the life totals were not updating for a second, so just give me 1 second to organize things out, as Mario is freaking out about the amount of damage he's going to take. Looks like he's down to 8 after all.
Just took 12 from that. Not looking good for Mario, I think.
He did have to block with that Rafine's Informant, and we do know that there's a Thraben Inspector in Garrett's hand, just reminding, because we did see it with the Deep Cavern Bat. Now it's time for, see if Mario's deck plays more of that mid-range style main deck, and see if he has a some sort of board wipe here. He was struggling on land drops, though, so Deadly Cover-Up Sunfall, not online.
Look like he has Path of Peril in the main either. I think this might be game.
There's just a lot of attackers coming in. I mean, the Deep Cavern Bat can block 1 and gain 1 life, but if it was 12 last turn, it's 14 this turn, 16 with the Fairgrounds Warden. That's just going to be Garrett. Oh, we do have Bitter Triumph, though.
Yeah.
So that kills the Lord, which reduces his damage by a lot. So now this is just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Mario doesn't even have to block here.
Oh, that's great for Mario, but based on what I think we've seen from his hand, I don't think... Oh, I guess he can block with the Copter. That's good.
So you could trade here for the 2 damage, so that would wind up putting him all the way only down to, I believe, 3. But he could also block this Fairgrounds Warden, which would get the Rafine's Informant back to get another draw step.
Yeah, just trying to dig for anything to live.
Well, Thoughtseize is probably not it in this spot.
Thoughtseize lose 2 life, go down to 0. Classic play.
So Mario does take 6 all the way down to 2. Gets a Rafine's Informant to connive. Looks like he found another Rafine's Informant, though. So no 5th land for a board wipe. And I believe that's just another single target removal spell in his hand. I think that was another Bitter Triumph he wound up discarding there. Oh, no, that's a Lively Dirge. That's what that was.
Oh, that's... If he had another mana, actually, that would have been... the Greasefang combo, actually.
Yeah, you could either combo a Greasefang, you could have found something like a Shieldred, and then wind up having a way to gain some life, but not quite going to be the play. Garrett, however, is just going to be playing a classic card, a Thraben Inspector, gets a clue. And just making sure the board state is correct. That Rafine's Informant does have a counter on it because of the connive. All right, looks like another Rafine's Informant was the draw from Mario. So when you were talking about Mario with his deck, did he mention that he only plays Raffine's Informants, no actual Raffines or Greasefangs?
Raffine's Informant Tribal is something I haven't seen before, so...
Yeah, it looks like Mario is just going to wind up gets the land from that draw from the connive, and then winds up scooping up the cards, pings himself with the Case of Koyo, so winds up killing himself. So that's going to be game number 1 going on over to Garrett with this Azorius Soldiers deck.
Actually, I believe if Mario got another land there, he might have been fine with the Lively Dirge, but I guess he couldn't. He was digging, couldn't find it. Maybe should have cut that land from before when he discarded it. But it's tough.
Especially that early on when you have 3 lands in hand, and you have, assumingly if you didn't have the Lively Dirge, the rest of your hand just 2 drops.
Yeah.
You can't really fault him, especially with the Smuggler's Copter there to try to maybe find something. But we are moving on to sideboards. Azorius Soldiers is going to take game number 1. So this is where I need that insider information. Like, what do you think this Greasefang deck is going to be bringing in? Even if you don't exactly know, like, 100% the sideboard, like, are we expecting to maybe see a little more of that mid-range plan against this Soldiers deck?
Yeah, I'm expecting definitely some Path of Perils, and maybe I'm not sure pest control if he has pest controls, which is new card from OTJ. That's a pretty good board wipe.
Yeah,
I don't think it affects his deck at all.
No, because he'll be getting rid of everything that is 1 mana or less. So everything he played so far was at least 2. Obviously, there may be some sort of token generation going on, so if you're putting that in, you probably also don't want to put in, like, Wedding Announcement if that's in your sideboard. That's a bit of a nombo.
Well, I don't think you bring Wedding Announcement in this matchup anyways.
No.
Like, you're getting run down by a lot of 1/1 and 2/2s.
And then from the Soldier side with Garrett's, it looked like the deck played very aggressive, played pretty much like a mono-white humans list, but we do know the blue is in there for a couple of reasons, one of them potentially being some sideboard options. I'm not entirely sure if we're going to see all too much sideboarding from Garrett, but knowing that Mario's list may be bringing in some kind of more mid-rangey cards, do you think there's anything from Garrett's side that he may be looking at?
I know that in Standard there is isn't there this blue 3-drop soldier that, like, lets you grind a little bit? It's like tap 3 soldiers, draw a card,
I believe I know what you're talking about. It's I think it's a 2-drop. Is that the one that flies?
It's a 3-drop, 2/3, I believe, with that flies. And also there's a Zephyr Singer. It's a Convoke. It's Convoke, and then it gives, like, all your soldiers... well, it gives everything that convokes it a flying counter, so...
Well, we're going to have to see what Garrett winds up bringing in this matchup. As we said, very interesting kind of deck. It's not something that we're used to seeing. So we'll have to see if the Soldiers player winds up bringing in something. I believe the card you were looking for was Sky Strike Officer, right?
Sky Strike Officer, yes.
So what does that card specifically do?
So
I know the name, but...
Yeah, so it's a 3-mana 2/3 flying. Whenever it attacks, you make a 1/1 color soldier artifact creature token from Brothers War, and you can tap 3 untapped soldiers you control to draw a card.
All right, so that gives a little bit extra kind of reach to this Soldiers deck. You know, tapping the soldiers you can't maybe get through with. We saw the Hazada Marshal at making a soldier whenever you attack with 3 creatures. Yeah. So potentially using some of those untapped soldiers to generate some card advantage for the deck, give it a little bit more reach and longevity against a list that is probably, like you said, putting in Path to Perils, putting in more targeted removal, and definitely going to be a little bit better for the grind.
Yeah, and also great that it's a flyer in this matchup.
Oh yeah,
so you can prevent a lot of the damage if you get Greasefang like turn 3.
There's just so many kind of random soldiers in the kind of like the Brothers War, Dominaria United type era. Like, there's just so many soldiers that for some reason have wings. Like, I can't really like describe it. There's just so many flying soldiers in this format, and that kind of makes it feel like the Spirits deck even more than it already plays like.
Yeah. I believe it was a major archetype in Brothers War, where blue-white soldiers, actually.
Yeah. Like, the one that I'm also thinking of is Harbin, because Harbin flies itself, and then is a 3/2 that also gives all of your things flying if you just keep playing soldiers.
Yeah.
So like you attack with 5 or more, and not only do they get +1/+1, but then they also all fly. So you just kind of like loads them up in an airship and just like flies them on over Final Fantasy style.
2 mana 3/2 flying that buffs your entire board is a pretty good ray.
Yeah, it's a pretty solid card. So we'll see if Garrett probably has this card main deck. I don't think it's going to be something he's bringing in out of the sideboard specifically, but we'll see if we wind up seeing it on camera in this game, as it looks like players are all sideboarded up, ready to go. Garrett's looking at his 7, and Mario shuffling still, so that might be signaling a bit of a mulligan since we know he's on the play.
Interesting looking at Garrett's hand right now. I feel like we've only seen white cards from him.
Yeah, I'm not convinced on the blue splash quite yet. I mean, we mentioned a couple things. We mentioned the Lord to draw cards. We mentioned Harbin. Zephyr Sentinel was the other one you mentioned, so you can kind of bounce something back to your hand to kind of play as like a combat trick, and it's a soldier that winds up doing some extra flying damage too, because that one flies.
Yeah.
At least that one has Zephyr in its name, so we know it's like at least like wind-based.
Oh, actually, I was thinking of Zephyr Singer, I believe it's called.
Oh, Singer.
I actually not sure that's a soldier, but it is a convoke card.
Oh, the Convoke one. Yeah, I'm not quite sure. We'll have to take
Maybe
a
a
look.
pirate.
It could be. Oh, you know what else is a soldier that we haven't seen from Garrett's deck quite yet is Warden of the Inner Sky.
Oh yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, we know how powerful this was out of the Convoke deck, so I'm wondering if Garrett's going to be playing some Warden of the Inner Skies in his list as well.
This card is a standard all-star too.
This card was a Pioneer All-Star for a hot minute too.
Yeah, and then Amalia came around.
Well, you know, when a vampire lady explores your area and winds up blowing everything up, there's only so much you can do. I mean, they're from the same set too, so that's a little ironic. Looks like Mario is going to be keeping his 6, so we'll see what the Greasefang deck is going to be putting up this time. Keeps the Thoughtseizes in. We do see a Thoughtseize in hand from Mario, and it looks like he's just going to rip that one off right away. So taking 2 damage on the first turn, hoping to prevent more than 2 damage coming across.
I like Thoughtseizes against aggressive decks, despite, you know, you still lose life, but you can usually prevent a lot of damage, or a lot more damage earlier. And I think he does take the Harbin out of
Yep.
this.
So already we get the Harbin payoff there. So Thoughtseize is going to be stealing that one away, so that Harbin's not going to be helping everybody just kind of take to the skies.
Plays the exact same one drop as he did last game.
We see just a passing of the turn, and there's Harbin on everybody's screen, just to make sure we all know what everything does. It's a 3/2 flyer, and that's the kind of like field pump effect that's coming out from him, being able to, if you attack with 5 or more soldiers, you get +1/+1 and flying until end of turn. Mario, having a very similar game as well, is just going to be playing a another Smuggler's Copter from his side, but did have to shock in that Godless Shrine in order to do so on curve, so down to 15 from this attack.
Yeah. Could we get a read on what the 1-cost soldier? I don't believe I saw it last game.
Oh,
but,
sure.
yeah.
I'll pull that one up while you go through what Garrett is potentially going to do with this. He does have the Raise the Alarm in hand, too.
So Mario does play a Urborg down, so all his lands are now swamps, even though... Oh, he's trying something. Just casting a Greasefang? Yeah, casting a Greasefang. I don't believe he has anything in yard, but he's just going to play the Greasefang just to have it out.
Sometimes you just got to play a 4/3.
Yeah. I mean, to crew the Copter, obviously.
There may not be another discard outlet in Mario's hand, so this may just be setting up a next turn kill if there is a Parhelion or something in hand. But no, just going to be discarding a Mutavault.
Ooh, Hazda.
I was calling it Hazada, but I moved an A over, so that's why it took so long to find. It's like, I'm misspelling this so badly.
Ravnica Legion.
Yeah, it is
Battalion.
fake battalion.
Fake battalion. When they gotta not put the keyword on the card.
Yeah.
Because...
And then that was not Raise the Alarm. This was the creature body version of it coming out from Garrett here with Resolute Reinforcements. It's a 1/1 that flashes and then it makes another 1/1, so it's Raise the Alarm on a creature. But then going to be attacking him with those 3, which is going to wind up putting Mario down to 12. And Mario did wind up getting Garrett down to 17 from that attack with the Smuggler's Copter. But then just kind of throwing out all those different cards, and there's that Blue Lord on the bottom there you were talking about before as well.
Yeah.
And Mario's got to read that one too.
He's about to draw quite a few cards off that.
Alright. I guess we can...
Sky
We'll do something
something
funny,
Marshall,
I guess.
I believe it's called.
Play a Gandra.
Cast, yep.
Yeah. I'm gonna tap like this. To cast Takanuma.
In the meantime,
Uh,
it looks like just going to.
he's gonna channel a Takanuma
Well, you get another.
and add a Greasefang to his hand, which is not what you really want to see when you channel a Takanuma. I don't think he milled over any Parhelions either.
No, he is just going to Thought Seize away the recruitment officer.
So Garrett's hand is pretty barren right now.
Oh, graveyard. Yeah, I'm sorry.
And then I have 2 lands.
Kept thinking,
It's just lands.
well,
So he's gonna be able to refill with the Skyfield Marshal? I don't know, Skyfield Officer or something.
I mean, I was thinking about attacking. I'll just pass.
This is the hard part about Magic the Gathering is you wind up having so many different cards with so many different things, and then you wind up playing against a deck like Garrett's. So you're just like, I knew what that card did when I needed it in limited, but I don't remember what it did when I had to play with it now.
To it when he drew 3 cards off.
It does look like just a passing over to the turn to Garrett's side. No attacking with that Greasefang, so might wind up having to play blocking duty, but can just still crew the Smuggler's Copter, so we don't have to really worry about it all too much.
Sky Strike Officer. So it is whenever it attacks. So I think Mario's looking to try and block it with his Smuggler's Copter, preventing Garrett from getting any value out of it.
Yeah, it is of note that these Hazda Marshal tokens do come in with lifelink. So one of these soldiers is going to have lifelink. Won't necessarily be the biggest thing, but still we're going to see Garrett's life total go up depending on how the attack is made here. But still really debating if maybe he even wants to attack or just kind of keep things back to activate that officer's ability to tap 3 and draw a card.
I'm going to attack like this. On attack, I will make it soldier trigger.
Instead, valuing the token that gets made off of the Marshal, and that still does wind up having 3 soldiers available to tap because the officer can tap itself.
It's very nice that the officer can tap itself. And looks like Mario's gonna be able is gonna chump the
Hazda? I'm going with Hazda. I'm saying that. I'm going with Hazda there.
Hazda, yeah.
And Garrett was attacking with a life linker, so we are going to see a 3 total life point swing.
Oh, unfortunate for Garrett. It looks like he top decked another land.
Well, Garrett will be able to draw a card at the end of Mario's turn, depending on what Mario does. If there's any sort of removal spells, you of course can do that in response to try to draw the card. But Mario right now does have an Aether Sphere Harvester in the graveyard on the top of his screen there. So finally has a different vehicle. This one is probably going to be one that was coming in out of the sideboard from his deck, because that is more of definitely an anti-aggro card that I remember from old Kaladesh Standard here, where it's going to be able to give you energy, and you pay an energy in order to give it lifelink, and it's just a 3/5 Stonewall at some point.
Yeah, this card really stonewall aggro deck. Just like a really big butt. It's 3/5. Gain 3 life every time you block or attack.
Now, were you playing Magic at all when Kaladesh was first released?
Actually, that's when I took a break.
Well, a lot of people kind of saw energy and then took a break, so I
Yeah.
can't really blame you for that. But I remember playing this in the Winding Constrictor deck, the green-black Constrictor deck. That's where I played this one in.
That deck looks sweet. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Oh.
And then we're gonna do it again.
Sure.
Nope, we're playing back to Rafine's Informant Tribal.
Counter, or no counter.
Okay.
Immediately connives the card from the top of his deck into
Yep.
Yep. And then
helicopter.
All right, well, we are going to have a copter swing. And I think at this point, what Mario is basically trying to do is just flip over a Parhelion or something, like basically as soon as he can.
Yeah, I agree. It is the proper thing to do here. Crewing. So
Yep.
he's gonna attack with a Aether Sphere Harvester too.
Yeah, the best part about the Harvester is with this Greasefang trigger, it is going to bounce back to hand. So you can just continuously make energy by playing it, and then if you get a discard with the Smuggler's Copter, you can discard it, get it back with Greasefang. You'll just have a lot of energy to keep up this lifelink here. But he did actually put in winning announcements this game.
It's looking really good for Mario actually this game. I think he's pretty much stabilized here.
Yeah, so that's basically a life total evening out here as Mario gains 3 by paying the 1 energy on the Harvester, goes up for that, and then Garrett wind up taking 6 damage from that attack. Did see him tapping those 3 soldiers at the end of turn to draw a card, so 2 more looks at potentially something. We did know there were 2 lands in hand, and it's another Hazda Marshal and multiple lands from Garrett's deck.
Looks like Garrett's only been drawing lands for a little bit now. Oh, he does have I believe that's the land that buffs all the soldiers. Oh, Deserted Beach? Or not Deserted Beach, it's
Fortified Beach, I think?
Fortified Beach? Yeah. So...
Yeah, if you're able to tap 5 mana, you're going to be able to buff everything up. So next turn, because we do know he has more mana in hand.
He has a lot of mana going around. So...
This is a bitter triumph, pitching that Aether Sphere Harvester that we wind up bouncing back to our hand. So this is the kind of loop that we get.
Yeah.
Flash in a Resolute Reinforcement.
Oh, got a Resolute Reinforcement?
Yep, so the Resolute Reinforcement's going to be flashing in here. This was going to be a bitter triumph down on the Officer, so this is probably, tapping the ones that just entered the battlefield and being able to draw a card off of that. Finds a Harbin, so that is some action, but now with the mana tap, Garrett actually can't play the Harbin this turn, has to wait till next turn to do so. And that was no damage either coming across. Or, oh, sorry, this was a...
Mario's turn, I believe. You top deck.
Oh, okay, that was a top deck of the Bitter Triumph. Okay.
The Triumph. And it's a little scary for Mario, I think, because if Garrett plays another land next turn, he could buff up with the Fortified Beach his entire board. That's a lot of damage coming through.
No, Mario is buffing up his life total a little bit here. So if that is a Fortified Beach turn, that'd be 2 damage per soldier on the battlefield now. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 for exactly. But Mario left back 2 blockers. Yeah. 3 if you want to count the Smuggler's Copter, but one of those has to crit, so.
I do believe as Garrett, you do just push it here. Oh.
No, I think he's going to wind up playing that Harbin he found last turn.
Okay, true.
Because this is another Lord effect. So now Harbin comes into play, and now you have an extra soldier to give everything flying, which means that you're going to be able to fly over everything but the Smuggler's Copter, and it might force Mario to stop his loop there with the Aether Sphere Harvester, and then wind up having to play defense with it instead of offense.
Actually, Harbin's attack with 5 or more soldiers and not including himself. So I think Garrett can just go for it this turn.
This is still going to be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 altogether. So keeping 1 back. So this won't be an attack for lethal, but like we said, there's still the Smuggler's Copter to block a flyer, but this is still going to be a huge amount of damage coming Mario's way.
I think pushing for lethal here is, obviously not lethal, but pushing for all this damage right now will help him a lot later, and then basically end the game in 2 turns guaranteed.
Yeah, so we do end up seeing blocking on the Marshal, so that means there's going to be no more tokens being created after this turn, but that's still 10 damage coming across to Mario.
And Garrett gains a good chunk of life back from his soldiers with lifelink.
Here's a rest in peace.
Oh, Garrett says, here's a rest in peace. So that Aether Sphere Harvester combo is now cut off, and so is any sort of Greasefang shenanigans now. Oh, and it's a lively dirge off the top. Oh, no.
This is exactly what Garrett needed to cut him off from.
That's pretty rough. Yeah.
Wrong side. But, so you can't really use the tutor effect on Lively Dirge now because the graveyard's exiled, and you can't use the other side of it, so this is just a dead card in the face of Rest in Peace.
I don't know if Mario can make it back from this. That Rest in Peace was exactly on time.
I sure wish I had 1 card in particular.
Mario saying he wishes he had 1 card in particular.
I think
I believe that one card in particular is Skyclave Apparition.
Yep, that would definitely be it. But Mario does have something it looks like he can play. There is a second card in hand we didn't get a chance to see.
Oh, I think he's just casting.
No, he's just casting Lively Dirge and just gonna automatically put something in the graveyard to exile.
Yeah.
No, definitely not. I would have if I had if I could do this.
Oh, I see. I forgot. Yeah.
I think they're just discussing formalities after.
Yeah, and that's good game. So Garrett is going to be the one that winds up taking match number 1. Azorius Soldiers with some spicy plays, a little bit of an aggressive plan, and then a perfectly timed rest in peace is going to be the way that Garrett winds up winning this match over Mario's Orzhov Greasefang deck.